Hello everybody. This is your host Angie from Religion to Woohoo, and I have been attempting to record this particular podcast and message for over a week, and I actually had it recorded 3 different times. And each time it either didn't feel right, or one of the times I tried it outside and there was like nobody around. It was peaceful. And then a bird started chirping really loud. And then suddenly people just started showing up. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I decided that it wasn't time. So we're going to see how this goes. But just to start out, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Angie, and I am the author of Leaf Lessons When Trauma and Religion Collide, the process of spiritual awakening and healing. The book does have some of my life story in it, not everything, but quite a bit of stuff. And then the process of coming out of religion and programming mindset. And then also some very intuitive insights that I got during meditations from spirit guides and from my dad, who has transitioned into spirit. And I lost my dad September 2020 to cancer, and it was a really traumatic event for me. I actually was present with him that night and was not, in some ways I was expecting it, but not fully. And I also had just lost my job 5 days before that. So it was a major shift in my life that pushed me towards an even deeper healing than what I was already digging into. And so since then, I have really been trying to push myself a little bit more to get out of my comfort zone into my giftings. And these are giftings I've known I've had since I was a child, but I think when I got really involved in like the church setting, of course the church would tell you that any kind of communication with spirits or if you say you're a psychic or a medium, or if you read energy or do anything like that, that it is demonic. And as I am reprogramming my mind and coming away from that setting and understanding it now, I don't remember how many years I'm out now, but I know for sure it's just started like around 7 years ago. And so in the last probably 2 to 3 years is when I really started to like get back into my giftings. And one of those is just hearing from like spirits and just getting insights on things. And one of the things that has been continually coming up for me in the last week, maybe 2 weeks, is a message about how the Bible, or how sometimes I think that we, because of the religious faith, like the Christian programming, we kind of give the Bible a bad rap. Like we say it's like this, not, at least I've come to understand. I will speak for myself, not okay. So I will take all that back for myself. I went through a period where I hated the Bible. I was really angry that I felt like I was tricked by it. I felt like it had been shoved down my throat. I was frustrated that I spent so many years trying to get this book to change me, and going to a Christian college, and just I'm not going to say it was a waste of time, but because I think it is pushing me towards like my calling in life now and like what I'm actually supposed to be doing. But it's frustrating to know how much it really traumatized me on top of the trauma I already had. And so my greatest hope is to help other people come out of this and understand that they don't have to live with this limiting mindset and always feeling like they can't live up to the standard that basically other people put on them. It's not even the universe or whatever you want to call it. Like, you know, we call it God because we want to label it, but really everything's held together by energy. And so the universe is like the creator of itself, like, and we're just part of that. So, I mean, you're going to have anybody from people that just don't believe in anything to people that are like way into religion, and you're going to have people in the middle where they're just kind of like, well, there might be a God or there might be a universal energy, you know, all that stuff. However, you know, I personally believe there has to be something that creates and evolves and an energy, because as I continue to grow, I come into the understanding how everything is energy. We are energy. I mean, scientifically, it has proven that even like the table is not purely solid. It's just made up of energy that appears solid because we're humans. And so there is a like divine energy or whatever. I like to call it love energy because I really think that love is like the most important thing of all. And so that's just what I label it as. Like, everything is made of love, but we humans in our egos have basically created toxic energies within that. So, speaking of tables, that is the message that I have been getting for the last couple weeks, for sure the last week, about flipping tables. And sometimes when I think of that, like, I used to be like way into some of the, the housewives. And I think about, like, I'm sure some of you all have, well, maybe some of you had watched like the New Jersey housewives or whatever. And there's like that Teresa's in that one, and she flips the table when she gets pissed off at the other women. And it's like this dramatic time, and it's just like, it was replayed a lot. And so I always liked her because of it, because I'm like, dude, she's, you know, not taking any shit from these people. And I mean, yeah, I probably shouldn't like flip out like that, but hey, you know, that just shows that she's like being authentic to herself and sticking up for herself. And you know, I think there is a toxic way to do that, and that probably can be, and but it is like being authentic, you know, to her own emotions and feelings. Which brings me to another moment in history of someone that flipped a few tables. This guy named Jesus that we hear about, that was written about in the Bible. And I've been thinking about how he went into the temple and flipped all the tables and basically threw a little fit and told everybody off. And if it is accurate, if it really happened, let's just say it did. If it didn't, like, maybe it was a metaphor. Maybe, you know, I don't know exactly what. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. And I don't even think the people that wrote it down were there. I think it probably happened, like, I think there was if I remember right, people started writing about Jesus like 300 years later, or either 300 to 30. I think that's like a major difference, but I think it's 300. I might have to look back at that. But I remember thinking when I first learned that, like, how the hell do they know? Like, they weren't even there. Anyways, so Jesus apparently goes into this temple, or nowadays it would be called a church, where everybody gathers to worship God and hear a message and put in their time with God and the what they would call the body of Christ with other believers that are like them. And I know that when I was still in the church setting, that it was like almost, it kind of felt like a requirement in some way. Like you go to church on Sundays because you need to have that time with your brothers and sisters and with God and learning and growing. And oh man, how exhausting. I am so thankful I don't get up on Sundays and get dressed and go to church. Either I just stay home and chill, go on a walk, do whatever I want, or I have something else to do, and I usually just don't care what I look like when I show up there. So anyways, back to the flipping of tables. So Jesus flips out, goes into this temple and starts flipping all these tables over and telling these people off. Basically, according to what we know of the story, he was telling them that they were turning his father's house into basically a market. And what these people were in this building doing were selling things for the church. If we really think about it, like, that's what they were doing. Like, there were people selling, like, animals for sacrifices and, like, doves and, like, all these things to sacrifice to God or to worship God or to get connected to God for pleading the blood and all that weird, crazy stuff that they believed they needed to do. And which is so crazy that they felt like they had to kill something in order. Anyways, so Jesus is flipping these tables over, and there's this belief within the Christian church that Jesus was 100% without sin, that this baby was born and never sinned. Like, the only person to ever walk the earth that did not sin. And the more I grow in my understanding and really kind of come to this awakening of, like, how things really are, and I am going to probably piss a few people off that if they still believe this, I'm sorry. Well, maybe I am. I don't know. But I don't think that's true. I don't think that Jesus never did anything wrong or thought anything wrong. And according to the people at the time that killed him, they obviously didn't either. Or else they wouldn't have killed him. So I have been thinking about this, how, if we had, for example, if we were having a bake sale at a church, or we were having some kind of women's ministry where people were bringing in things to sell, or the men were, gathering and baking or cooking some meat or something and selling it for a fundraiser, I think about even to when I was still going to church, the last pastor or whatever you want to call it that was leading it would have these, he would do this like before school started, like carnival, I guess. And he was trying to get college students to come to the church. And I don't know. It was never, nobody ever wanted to go there. I didn't want to go there. Obviously, I quit. But it's just funny that we can do the same things that Jesus actually went to go tell the people not to do. And we don't even see it. Like, we're just freaking blind in that setting. Like, everybody's just blind. And, we're making this guy out to be, like, pure and holy and never made any kind of mistake ever. And worshiping him when that wasn't even his purpose. Like, I truly don't think Jesus ever wanted to be worshiped. I think that he was a probably a divine old soul or a higher spirit of some kind that came to remind people, just like the Buddha did, and just like, the Dalai Lama, and just like all these people that lived before, to remind us to connect with our consciousness, which is our higher self, and which is the love energy within us. Because without our love, we are constantly creating systems of performance, systems of needing to show up in a certain way, systems of creating a culture of you must be like us. And as I was thinking more and more about this, like, one, here's the first thing I thought. If some dude came in to your church or a church and started flipping tables over and calling y'all names and saying that you're turning their father's house into a market or whatever, y'all think that person was crazy as hell. Like, you'd be like, call the police. This dude's crazy. He's destroying the place. Get him out of here. The religious programs and churches would do the exact same thing as the people back then did, where they started thinking that this dude's crazy. He says he's God. Let's get him killed. And what I think really was happening was Jesus was coming and reminding everybody that they are also part of God. Like, they are also I ams. They are also connected to this energy, and they don't need this setting to do it. And so Jesus went to go flip the tables over because he's like, y'all are idiots. This is not what it is. Like, it pissed him off, basically. And if you don't think that's sin according to the Christian faith, then you're crazy. I'm just going to say that, because I guarantee you, if somebody did that right now, that came into your church and started flipping tables over and telling people off, you would think that person was a freaking psycho, and you would have them arrested, or hopefully not worse, because I know how some of those Christians are with, I'm not even going to go there. Anyways, so that's just my, one example of how kind of it's very programmed, and there's not much understanding of how everything they teach and preach goes against everything that they're actually trying to manifest in their life. And then the second thing that came to my mind was how I've been out of the faith for a few years. Well, yeah, so I think I'm going to just say 7, but for sure in the last 3 to 5, I haven't been to church in a long time. And I had a friend that was, I think I mentioned her in the last podcast. She was a good friend at the time. At least, that's what it felt like. And when we used to try to get together for birthdays and still connect, even though I had left the church. Just, I as I'm growing and healing, I'm noticing that it was because I was reaching out. It's because when I quit reaching out, there's a lot of people that just dropped out of my life that just are not there anymore. And now my energy's aligned a little bit more with my own self and my consciousness, and I actually really enjoy being by myself. I mean, I go on vacations alone. I'm really okay with not feeling the need to have people in my life to chase. If people want to be in my life, I will 100% make effort to, reciprocate a relationship, but I'm sorry, I'm not gonna chase you. I will, be polite and loving and kind, and if I consider you a friend, I will reach out to you, and I will spend, I will do my part. But when it comes to one-sided relationships, I guess is what I want to say, I'm just done. I'm just 100% done with that. And but so the last time I went to get coffee with this old friend of mine, I had a Buddha quote on my phone. Like, you know how you can put a new picture or a screen saver or whatever on your phone. I had a quote by Buddha on there. I can't remember. I think it was about mindset, like what you think you become. I think it was. And then it said Buddha, like the quote and then Buddha. And I just happened to like tap on my phone to see what time it is. And we were getting ready to end and go. And she saw what was on there. And she basically kind of flipped out on me and was like, Buddha. Oh my God, like, why do you have a quote of Buddha? And she just like got so offended by that. And, you know, I think I recovered pretty well. And I said, yeah, isn't that a really good quote? What you think you become, like, you got to watch what you think. And she kind of took a step back and was like, oh. And I was like, yeah. And anyways, I think about that sometimes, and I have not heard from her since. And like I said, I'm not doing the one-sided relationship anymore, because I get tired of, you know, I did that for a long time. And in my healing, I've understood that I'm valuable, and that when there's when it's meant to be, it will be easier. It's just not going to be a hard thing anymore. And so and it doesn't mean that things don't come back around. Like, I think about my best friend and I, like, we went several years without talking, probably like 3 years. And I really didn't know if we would talk again. But then we both just picked up, and it was just like, our friendship is freaking amazing now. I mean, she literally is like my sister, so we fight all the time. But it's like arguments over things that actually help us both grow and to see things and to challenge each other. And we always come back to love, like, every time. And we will actually be honest with each other when we are struggling, or if somebody else says something that hurts the other, and like if we need to take a break for a few weeks and not talk, like, it's okay. Like, we don't feel like this, I don't know, it's not a panicky energy between us. And so I just, I bring that up because sometimes people change and, they grow, and then you can come back together. And that's just one of those examples of how that happens. And, but in this particular case with this old friend, like, I have kind of just chosen to let go and move on. And, which is fine. I think I don't have any bad feelings about it. I don't think she does that I know of. But one of the things I have really, with this whole Jesus flipping tables and kind of calling people out and doing things like that are, I don't know, nowadays would be considered a sin if you were into church. I have really come to understand that there's this like complete judgmental energy that comes from this religion, this faith, that has no room at all for anybody to have any of their own personal identity, beliefs, or be individual outside of what other people think they should believe. And since I have left the faith, let's see here. Okay, no, I was going to say I've had 2 people reach out. No, I have not had, I've had one person reach out, which I think I talked about, was right after my book got released. But the whole purpose of her reaching out was trying to convince me to come back to the faith, and I was going to hell and leading everybody else to hell, and I needed to stop doing what I was doing, and blah, blah. So it wasn't like a reconciliation like thing. It wasn't like a come together and peaceful, loving, like, I still love you and accept you as you are, even though you don't believe as I do believe. And there's none of that. Like, once you're done with, like, once you've left, and you're outcast, and you're, this seen as this, like, sinner, and probably even demonic, and, like, all these, like, it's just bad energy. It just is. And I don't even want to be around it, to be honest. But I just find it really interesting that there's this message of forgiveness within the religion, but there's not any actual manifestation of it. Because it's so programmed into believing that they're following this sinless man and they have to do everything according to what they think he was talking about and they think he was doing, but they forget about the times that he flipped tables or he told people off. And they see that as like a way for them to have permission to do that to the people outside of the church. When it wasn't even that. Like, Jesus didn't do that to people outside the church. He did that to people inside the church. Like, he went to the freaking church and flipped tables, y'all. And so the whole message of love and forgiveness and kindness and being still and gentle and going inward and connecting with your higher self and doing all of these beautiful energy actions that bring and manifest positive into your life and the people around yours, like allowing people to have freedom to be themselves without feeling like judged or like they're wrong, or the most beautiful people I know in this world are so open and so loving and so like there's just not, they're gonna accept you no matter what. And that is love. That is higher consciousness. That is universal energy of everything expanding and coming together. And when you come into it, when you bring it tightly into the negative energies, all that goes away. It all becomes about us against them. And it is such a programming. I'm so thankful to be out of it. But I want to emphasize that even on the other side, I also have to remember that my job is to love and be kind. And it's hard to do when you're angry. And I don't know that we really fully get a grasp on how to be in this. At least I have not got there. If anybody else has, please let me know, because I'd love to hear. But I have not got to the place where I can be like Jesus and go flip tables and still be loving. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't do it. Sometimes I can't even get mad. Like, I'm at that point sometimes. Like, my therapist tries to get me to get mad all the time about stuff, and I just look at her like, I can't. Sometimes I do. I've been able to do it a couple times, and it does help when I allow myself to go there. But apparently Jesus got mad a couple times and flipped some tables once, and so if that's our example, then maybe we need to be flipping a little bit more tables in our lives. That's not permission. I'm kidding. Don't do that. I don't want to get any messages or anything about people getting arrested or going in church. Please don't go into any church and flip a table. Just don't do it. We have enough problems in the world. We don't need to add to that. But the whole purpose of it is, one, I really don't think that Jesus ever was like 100% perfect. I just don't think. He was a human just like us. 2, Jesus flipped some tables because he was pissed, because everybody was doing exactly what he told them not to. 3, he got killed for it. And 4, the energy of forgiveness and love is important. And to take it to an even deeper level, I will continue this on the next podcast if I feel led, because I do feel that this is a very deep part of this message. What tables do we need to flip in our own lives to see underneath it that are keeping us from living as our authentic self? What healing, what energies are still stuck within ourselves that we need to flip the tables over for and get rid of? Because it's not just about flipping tables outward, it's about flipping tables inward. And I think maybe the actual message probably was a little bit more about that. So I will leave you with that. Like I said, if I feel led, I will continue that conversation in another podcast. But I thought that was just really interesting message that I was receiving, or I got into my spirit, because I had never thought it that way. So, all right. Just a little plug, just please, if you would like to share the podcast, I would be so very thankful. A review would be wonderful as well. And, of course, my book, you can purchase it on Amazon if you would like. I am trying to work with Barnes & Noble to get my book in Barnes & Noble right now. And I think I just haven't felt like putting the work in, just to be honest. It just seems, I'm just like tired. I've just been doing so much. I'm just like, can you just do it for me? I don't want to have to like reach out and do all this, but I'm going to try to do that this week. Anyways, in the meantime, you can get it on Amazon. Leaf Lessons is the title. And I am going to be creating this healing course that is going to be a 6 weeks course. I actually got 5 of the weeks halfway done this last week. Maybe I got almost all of them done. But I have one more step to do on each week, and then I want to go back through it and kind of make sure it's good. It will be my first time putting this course together. I'm sure I will revamp it every time it's offered. And I'm going to keep the price very low this time, according to what the effort is and work I'm putting into it. But I will tell y'all, I'm going to start charging for the work I put in, because it has been a lot. Anyways, I will leave you with that. I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love there is. Namaste.